Hey everyone, it's Natalia.
This is Arun.
And we're the red team. And we're going to talk a little bit about leg 5 in Switzerland, our second day in Switzerland, and how lost did we actually get?
Got lost quite a lot.
Yeah, we'll dive into that. But first we wanted to kind of talk a little bit about how our season post-COVID legs are a little bit different than some of the other seasons of the Amazing Race. And so one of the big things I think is just we got to take a chartered flight. So you won't see us in the airport. There's no airport kind of drama going on. And we named the plane Big Phil.
Big Phil.
Yeah, and so like normally, you know exactly where you're going. Usually when you're going to the next country, like you open your clue and it's like fly to blah, blah, blah. And then you have all this time to kind of go to the airport, you know where you're going. And so you have that time to do research. For us, we had no idea when we were on this plane, like what even country we're going to. And so literally all of us are just like looking out the windows. We're like, there's mountains. Like, oh, are we flying north? And we're on a like chartered plane. So there's not even like the flight tracker. So we have like literally no idea where you're going. Like when you start the race or that leg is when you find out for the first time actually what country you're in.
Basically, once you land in the airport and once we still go through custom and immigration, that's when you say, oh, this is the flag, this is the country we are in. So it's really strange because for people who watch this race, most of the research is done at the airport, or whether you're going in the train, you're talking to people, finding out more about the country. Here we had nothing to do. We just landed and you're ready to race.
Yeah, and even at the airport, like you can like study kind of the big landmarks, or even the language. Because even when we were in Switzerland, we were in a very heavy German place, but in Lugano, it ended up being Italian. And so when people were like, ciao, I was like, are they speaking Italian now? Like it was weird because we didn't have any of that context that, oh, now we're in like an Italian part of Switzerland.
And also, since being in COVID, we got tested every other day. So that was so basically your race was structured that we couldn't be in what would you say, that in a flow or whatever it is. So we had breaks to get COVID tested because the cast got tested. Everybody, the production team, everybody had to be tested COVID every other day. So that was a little bit of a difference in the flow of the race.
Yeah, and usually in the Amazing Race, you do have rest days in between legs, but us, we had that like choppy kind of feeling. It's like race, and then your adrenaline goes down, and then it gets really high again. And sometimes waiting in those hotel rooms could be like you're just stuck in a hotel room with like I'm stuck with you for 24 hours, and so yeah, sometimes it can get really to your head.
And the CBS did CBS and the production did a very good job making sure that we were all safe and everybody was tested. So that was a very good thing on CBS part.
And of course, self-driving season of the Amazing Race.
So navigation is our strength. By now, you guys have all realized navigation has been the downfall of wherever we have finished. So it continues to be a struggle. And Natalia,
Yeah, no, because there's been some seasons of Amazing Race that haven't had even one like self-drive, and we just have it back to back to back, and I don't think people understand how taxing that is. Like the navigation itself is a challenge. So usually, when you have a taxi leg, like our second leg in London, like that taxi time, unless you have like a really bad taxi, is like time for you to relax in between the challenges and kind of just reduce the stress going level on. But when you're self-driving back to back to back legs, your stress level is always super high.
The stress level is more knowing that's your weakest part of your game. But if you guys have seen the season, except for the singing and dancing in Scotland, the challenges we've been doing pretty good. I mean, we've been doing good when it comes to challenges. The struggle we've had is to get to the challenges, which is the most important thing in a race. So that's the reason we've been in the bottom. Because of COVID, we also have to be careful who do you approach or what it is, because somebody is approachable, especially because of COVID. So we did wear masks when we were going and asking questions for directions, but you still had to find the approachable person to ask for directions.
Yeah, so let's do a play-by-play of what happened this leg. And so we start off at Martgas, where we ended the last pit stop, and we're opening up that roadblock clue, and it's like, who wants to get down? And we are starting with Shirin Akbar. It's the new structure where teams are leaving in groups, and it's not that like uncommon to have some type of equalizer, even if you start like further behind or finish further behind in a previous leg. Like past seasons, you know, you usually start off at the airport and your flight's not till later, so a lot of the teams end up kind of catching up as that equalizer. And so in this case, you know, Sherry Akbar and us, we were starting 30 minutes behind the first team. And we opened up Who Wants to Get Down, and we had decided that we were going to switch back and forth on roadblocks. And also, I thought it was dancing when it was like, get down. So I was like, no way.
No dancing.
You're doing that. And when you see us, we're not really like excited when I open it. Because like the one thing I wanted to do on The Amazing Race was bungee jumping. When anyone asked me like, what do you want to do on The Amazing Race? I was like, bungee jump. Like, please let there be bungee jumping. I love like all the adrenaline, the thrills, things like that. But we weren't excited when we opened it because all I saw was drive yourselves. And we knew, you know, it was going to be a lot of self-driving, back-to-back, but you never know. There might be a little bit chance that it's not self-driving, so, you know, your heart sinks a little bit. But, yeah, drive yourselves to Valley Versaska.
But the thing what we didn't realize is till we went and asked for directions. We decided we'd ask for directions before we get into the car, so we went and stopped and asked the lady, and then we realized it's almost going to be a 2.5 to 4 hour drive, depending on how many stops you're going to make, which route you're going to take. And that's when we said, holy cow, it's going to be a long drive.
Yeah. Like, short self-drives, okay, there's less room for error. When you're driving, like, 3 hours, like, there's a lot of small turns, because even in your everyday life, when you have GPS, like, if you miss one turn, like, sometimes you have to go a while before you can turn around, and then you're, like, your GPS takes forever to load, and you just don't even know where you are. Now you're, like, have to do that with a map. And so, yeah, I even, like, when we were asking the lady for directions, like, can you double check that just to make sure? Because I don't want to drive 3 hours if there's some other Valley Versaska that's closer on.
But then also when you're asking somebody for directions on their phone, the language could be different. Some of them don't have it in English. So that's something which we also had to figure out, hey, can we change the language and things like that.
Yeah, and it's also COVID time, so you want to be respectful of using people's equipment and things like that, like their phones. And one thing, this time what happened, I think the lady we asked for directions had like tolls off or something. And so the direction we had from her phone, when we're using it to look at Google Maps, was actually the scenic route, same that Kayla and Raquel took. And so when we're leaving Margas, we get on M15, but there's two ways. There's the one on the highway. The one we saw first, which we thought was like what everyone was taking, was that scenic route. And,
we just assumed everybody were taking the same route, but we didn't realize there was a shorter route. The shorter route without stops was 2.5 hours, and the longer route without stops was 3.5 hours. So with the stops, it was basically for us, we just wanted to make sure, we did make a couple of stops because we just wanted to make sure we're going in the right direction. So we probably landed up taking 4 or 4.5 hours, plus we got lost when we stopped for a direction. We should have gone the other way. We went the different way, so which cost us about 45 minutes because we had to get back on the freeway, turn around, and come. That's where when they show us in the episode getting lost, that's where we got lost.
But one thing I wanted to bring up before that is, you know, there's that scene of us, we're trying to find our car. And the reason is we actually, the leg before, we had to park our car, just find any parking spot. And we had parked on the other side of Margas. And so for this leg, they moved all our cars because people parked in different places to one area. So when we were starting the leg, they're like, your car's around the corner. But there were teams that did park in the area so they knew where their car was. Like it was exactly where they left it. For us, they had moved ours. So when we got there, we were like, there's a bunch of cars there that all look the same. And so he had the key. And so that's why we were trying to make.
That's the question people. Oh, they didn't know where they had parked the car because we really didn't know where the car was. So in a race, all these small things do matter. I mean, that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to figure out where our car was. We didn't waste. We maybe wasted a minute on that. That's probably what it is.
Yeah. So, and one thing, like a mistake we made is when we were getting directions, you know, it was before we got into the car. So there was a map actually in the car that the production had provided to us. And we didn't know that until about like halfway into our drive, we noticed the map that was there. And because like on previous legs, they didn't always give us a map. So we didn't know if that was going to be in the car. And so that was like a huge mistake that we made. But like eventually, we noticed the map and we started to use it. But we were also, you see that scene of me using the compass. Because we just wanted to make sure, like, we knew we had to head southwest. So we didn't want to, like, drive north for 3 hours. So at least we knew, we're going southwest. We're getting closer to where we need to be. And we're at least driving in the right direction. So that's why we were using that compass.
The compass is very useful. Because especially if you know you have to go north and you're going north, then you're going in the right direction. A lot of times in the race history, you have noticed that people have gone the other way. And they've been driving for 3-4 hours before they realize whether south or north.
Yeah, so for us, what really went wrong, I think, getting to the dam, and that was a lot. Getting to the dam was where most of our navigational problems were on the leg. And it's when people told us when you get to the dam, like off the highway, you'll see signs, like you'll be able to see like where you're supposed to go. So we thought we were going to see all these signs, the dam, and like they were asking like, how far do you think you're away? I'm like, we should be like 15 minutes away. At that point, and so we're continuing to drive, and at the time our time estimates are kind of off because like we were on the scenic route and like then we ended up getting on the highway, and there are times where you get wrong directions too when you ask people, and so you can't always trust because someone told us to go towards like Locarno.
Yeah, that's right. When we are looking at Lugano or Locarno and all because everything sounds the same. Once you're a little tensed up, then your mind starts working in a different direction. But we had to trust our gut, but we probably didn't.
Yeah, I think we stopped way too many times. Like you obviously don't see this, but you were getting kind of like, hello, should we stop and ask directions? And, something you need to do is you just got to trust your directions. Because when you stop, that's when you get off course. Like,
yes.
And
getting back on
we passed the dam. We went in the wrong, like, further past it in the wrong direction and had to come back. And that lost us a lot of time. But eventually we do make it, Bali Bersaska. And I get to do the jump, and at that point I'm like, I'm ready to off it, let me just jump.
When you watch the episode, there was something, Nat just got there, 2 minutes, hook me up, whatever thing, and she has the biggest smile, and she jumps and gets it over. We were in and out so fast. Hats off to you, Natalia. I mean, she had the smile up. She just wanted to get it done because we knew we were last at that moment. We knew where exactly we stood because we were the last ones to take the sixth place team at that moment. You did a wonderful job. You were in and out, smiles, and great job.
Yeah, and like I'm not afraid of heights, but standing up there is scary. Like even if so I can't imagine, props to Sherry for really conquering that fear of hers as well as Kim. But yeah, like you're standing up there and like one thing I was like, don't look down, look straight ahead, and then I just died for it. And
I'm so jealous that I didn't get to do it. Yeah,
they cut off like us arguing on the way there because he was like, I wish I was gonna do it like the whole time up there as we were driving up while we were lost. And then the things that they actually give you a bunch of directions that you're supposed to do, but like if you're scared, you're like thinking about it. But it's funny because you're like you have to grab this other rope while after you bungee jump while you're hanging there and like attach it to yourself, give them a signal to pull you up by sticking up your arm, and then you have to like pull yourself up a little bit too. So there's all this stuff
because
you have to do.
If you the Sherry said I forgot to tell them to pull me up, because she was so there are some things which you have to do once you're going down and have them pull you up.
Yeah, and then I had a GoPro attached to our hands, and so as I was going out, I was talking to my GoPro the whole time. They didn't show any of that, but that was really kind of like a bucket list item for me. So I was so happy that we got to do that, or I got to do that on the race.
And once we left the dam, then the next challenge we had to go was to Lugano. Lugano was about 40 kilometers, I believe, but we really didn't have much of a difficult time going to Lugano.
Yeah, we only asked for directions once to Lugano, which was actually a guy at the dam. He gave us directions, and then the signs to Lugano are pretty straightforward. Obviously, like, it looks different in the edit, but, we can't get into much detail about that, but we found Lugano pretty fast. Our navigational issues on this leg was actually most of it going to the dam. And so, yeah, then
once we got to Lugano, the option was we had whether to do the what do you say to hell?
Before we even get into that, like when you get to Lugano, it was getting like rush hour or something, like when we got there. So there was like a lot of traffic. And when you get there, you have to park in a specific parking
Parking
garage.
lot.
So getting into Lugano is fine. And I think a lot of teams like specifically had trouble finding this parking garage when you're in Lugano. And so you had like it was hidden. It wasn't like a huge parking garage. It was like underground. And so that actually took more time than actually getting to Lugano.
I think a lot of teams had the difficulty finding the parking garage. That's something which was not shown in the episode because of time, whatever it is. But we were able to find. I mean, the traffic was a little bit crazy.
Yeah, because we were like in stop and go traffic at one point. And then so we eventually get there. We got a detour. Gonna do the stairs, the bartending or the sausage, and he works in the restaurant industry. Like I'm a huge foodie. Like we said, anything with food like is in our area. Like that's our skill, our strength, and so sausage. We're able to crank that out pretty fast.
The sausage making, I don't know if they explained in the thing that you had to take the meat from the butcher shop down and take it all the way up to the rooftop where you had to make the sausage. The sausage making is a skill because I think they've had this challenge in Amazing Race in the previous years, and it's a skill. You have to pay attention to detail because if you don't pay attention to detail, you're going to be there for a long time. We didn't get it done the first time. We got it done the second time. You had to make 4 perfect sausages, and we were able to get it done the second time.
Yeah, and I think, it's like you're saying, you have to solely the casing, because you see past seasons of Amazing Race where they have to do like similar sausage tasks, and it's oftentimes like the casing ends up breaking as you're trying to fill in the sausage.
The trick to the casing is you just have to make sure you soak it in the water and there's enough moisture and it's not dry so it doesn't break.
Yeah. And I'm so glad we didn't do the stairs because, we talked to other teams after that leg and they were like, yeah, the stairs were terrible. And, I'm picturing some stairs, not too much. Seeing it back, I'm like, holy cow, like that's a lot of stairs. Like, yeah, the sausage detour was definitely the faster one.
I think much shorter. If you figured it out how to do it, I think it might have been much shorter too.
Yeah. So then we get to the pit stop. We at this point know we're at last. And we're hoping, so we did the math before. We knew there's a certain amount of legs left, there's an amount of teams. So we had an inkling, maybe this is going to be either a keep on racing leg or it's going to be a non-elimination. But you never know. And so when we got there, we were just keeping up hope, and obviously the greeter, which, I'm kind of bummed because the star of the show, the dog, and we didn't even get to see the dog. It was so cute. And Phil, I think was yeah, the dog had a vet appointment or grooming appointment or something, had to leave. And I was thinking if there's a memory challenge about greeters, we're kind of screwed. But Phil described the dog to us, so. And so we find out we're last and we're saved again. Obviously we have 9 lives.
No, Mig, we are not taking these opportunities we are getting, the second chances or the third chances lightly. Meaning we are very serious when it comes to racing. We take pride in what we do. I know that this leg was not a great leg when it came to navigating or using some common sense, but we'll continue to fight.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is we have to just learn from our mistakes. If we're not learning, then that's where there comes an issue. But everyone makes mistakes. You just gotta learn from those. So hopefully tune in next week to see if we learn from our mistakes.
I guess we'll live to fight another day.
Yeah, so let us know again if you have any questions or comments or want us to talk about anything else. Thanks all.
Bye.